Hey guys, it's Jasmine. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing a giant check. Now this video is going to be a little bit lengthy, but if this is something you're interested in making, trust me, it's worth the time. So the first thing I'm going to do in Design Space is make my lines. So I'm just using like the dash, like on a standard keyboard, the one that's like after the 0 if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I'm doing. I am switching the font because with the first font the sides are like rounded and I wanted it to be boxy so that my lines, because all I'm going to do is adjust the width of it. If you can see here, the ends were round and I want them to be more square, so that's why I'm changing the font. Now you can see it's more of a box. So what I would do is measure your poster board first to see how much room you have to work with and make the size of your lines based on that. Now for my longest line, I'm going to be using two lines that are 11.5 inches, and I'm going to be putting them together because the vinyl that I had the first time I tried to do this, it didn't cut through. But anyway, I had two 12 by 12 sheets, and so I couldn't make one long line. So yeah, my longest line will basically be 23 inches long. But like I said, measure whatever board you're using, see how much space you have, and make your lines based on that. I will be using two singular 11.5 inch lines for my memo line, where where memo is and what it's for, and then the other line, which would be like the signature on the check, those will be 11.5. The one above, so that longest line is actually for the amount, and the one above that, I just used one 11.5 if I'm not mistaken. That's for the person's name, and then for the date, I believe it was like 6 or 7 inches. Yeah, so, but feel free to measure your space and go from there. Also, be sure to draw out on your board where you want everything so that you're not just eyeballing it, so you have an idea where you want everything to go. By the way, I actually did this for my niece for graduation. My sister asked me if I thought I could come up with something because she wanted to give a giant check, and I told her that I would do it, and I did it, but I didn't record it. So I thought, why not share this on my YouTube channel? So this is just the recreation of the original check. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start putting my words in. At this time I was doing it from memory, what I thought it looked like, combined with just a Google image that I had looked up. So eventually I ended up changing the layout a little bit, but you can just use kind of what you see me do here to make whatever layout you want. So I recommend going on Google, searching giant check, because there are several different ones. They're not drastically different, but they're not exactly the same. So I would go through and see which layout you want or which one you like the best, and kind of use the tips that you see here to, create the look that you want. and I had nothing to really go off of except for a picture. I didn't have like, what the right, letter sizing or anything should be, or, whatever. I just saw it. My sister asked me if I think I could come up with something. I said yes. And then I don't know, used my mind to try and figure it out. So feel free to play with it, especially because the materials are so inexpensive. The board is $1 at Dollar Tree, if that's where you choose to buy one from. And the vinyl, you can get the sheets from Michael's. They are, I think, $1.99 each, or you can get a roll, which is like $6. So it's really not, a lot of money. And if you get the roll of vinyl, you'll have extra left over for another project. Also, feel free to mix and match fonts. If you notice, the name is in a more scripty font so that, it just stands out a little bit more. But there is no right or wrong way to do this. Be willing to be creative. Be willing to try different things and just see if you like it. And if you don't, then you can always, switch back to what you had before. So it's at this point that I referenced the picture of my niece holding the check, and I realized that it was slightly different. So I did change the layout a little bit and added a box where the 500 is instead of that little line underneath it. I added a box around it, but that's pretty much it. So I have everything weeded, and I'm going to start by adding the lines. If you can see, it's very hard to tell, but I have some lines drawn onto the board where I want my lines at. You can see the one on the bottom here, but I don't think you can really see the other ones too well. But yeah, I kind of had my layout pre-planned. I think that helps it to work better so that everything is, you know, spaced out evenly or has as much space as you want it to have without just trying to eyeball where you think something should be, because once you put this vinyl down, you're not really going to be able to pull it back up and be able to restick it. Also, you can use transfer tape to put these onto the board, but I just didn't. I just figured it was easier because I had the lines already there, which I used a ruler to draw, so they were straight. I just put it basically over the line, so yeah. Now this is kind of where I made it more difficult than it needed to be. I think I used a piece of used transfer tape. I went to get the transfer tape and there was a piece that was already cut from the roll. So I was like, oh, I'll just use this. But as you can see, it wasn't really sticking. So I had to use my weeding tool to kind of help lift the letters a little bit to get them to stick to this tape. So it just made it a little bit harder, and it made it take more time because I literally had to assist every letter with sticking to the transfer tape. So just make sure you use fresh transfer tape. So as I was, getting the word pay for pay to the order of, the A somehow like disattached from the transfer tape, and so it was just like terrible because I'm like, okay, now how do I figure out how to get it back like in line with the rest of the word and it look right and it be even. And so when I first took it off, it was like so crooked, and it still ended up not being perfect. But this is why I say make sure you have fresh transfer tape if possible, and it'll just save you a lot of trouble. Also, if you have a scraper tool, use your scraper tool on the front and on the back, so that it can help it to attach to your transfer tape. I was being lazy and I didn't feel like getting up to go get my scraper tool, so you'll see me multiple times using the back of this weeding tool, trying to use it as like a scraper tool. But yeah. So let me just say that this part right here, I really messed it up. So be sure that you're using fresh transfer tape, because that is, where I went wrong. The transfer tape wasn't picking it up, so I was trying to use my weeding tool to help assist the lifting of the vinyl to get it onto the transfer tape. But eventually, it just wasn't like placed right, and it was starting to like crinkle and stick to itself and all kinds of crap, and it was just terrible. So just be careful. You can kind of see that NITY right there. You see how bunched up that is? That's what I'm talking about. So I literally kind of I don't really know how to explain it. Stuck down the SEREN, I think, and then the ITY, I kind of ripped it off, and then somehow, some way, was able to put it on the board and make it look halfway decent. But yeah, just be careful, because you don't want this to happen. So we're almost done. A few more words to put on. I'm telling you, this is, you know, kind of a bit of work, but if you use the right tools, like the transfer tape, it'll be a lot easier, I promise, and it won't take as long. But if you're like a person who enjoys doing crafts and making things, it's not that bad, I promise. So I ended up forgetting to put the $sign on there in the video part, but I did remember afterwards, so make sure you don't forget that. But we are finally done. Thank you for watching.
Give us a subscribe, hit that button.